I introduce myself as I say, hi, my name is Nyla. I'm an alcoholic and I'm a free Black woman in long-term recovery. And I say that for the sisters who are sitting in the rooms who don't see themselves, who know innately that this is the pathway that is for them, that they're destined to be part of our crew, part of our family in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I desperately say to them, remember to not leave pieces of yourself at the door, that we are actually all welcomed here. We all belong here. That diversity brings richness to our community. If you walk into a room and you don't see yourself, you are responsible to be there for the next person who doesn't see themselves. Alcoholics Anonymous, at its purest form, is about belonging and it's about inclusion. The onus is actually upon us who are in the rooms to carry that message and to be real about that message. And I think that there is action involved in that. And that means hold on to your seat.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine half-hour variety hour featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Don, an alcoholic in Greensboro, North Carolina.
You sure are. Oh, hey, everybody. I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
Hiya, Sam.
Why does that say Palm Springs, North Carolina? And why do you even have in the script how I should introduce myself? You're trying to control too many things, Don.
You should read the script and see if it says where you are or not.
You know what? Here's what I think. I think you're trying to control things. You're trying to do too many things. I think you need to work on your meditation.
I am working on my meditation. I've been working on my meditation now for 30 years.
And it's working so well.
It's working so well. I struggled doing a daily prayer and meditation for about 25 years. It was the most difficult. I could do the prayer, but I would even forget to do the prayer in the morning because I don't know, it's just so busy, I felt like. And, my sponsor would say, Don, it only takes 2 minutes to do the prayer. You can do a 2-minute prayer. It's not a matter of time. It's because you just don't want to do it.
Oh, that whole willingness thing.
Yes. So put sticky notes up and things like that. I've used all kinds of strategies, but suddenly it became easier for me to do at some point. It really was when I determined that my problem was I didn't want to do it. And I said, that's not an option. So I've been doing it. And I've often thought, I wish that AA had a book. We talk about prayer and meditation, but there's just not a lot of advice of how to do it and that sort of thing. And lo and behold, there is a book.
There's a book?
Yes, it's published by the Grapevine.
The Grapevine publishes books?
All the time. Yes, books, and it's prayer and meditation. I started reading it recently, and it's really good.
Oh, yeah?
I've been reading one a day.
Okay, so it's kind of like a daily reading type of book?
Well, it's a little bit longer than, say, daily reflections. What it is reproducing Grapevine articles on the collected experiences of all the people who have written in about how they use prayer and meditation, their struggle and their solutions, their strategies, the way that everyone does it. And everyone's different. And everyone has different things. And I'm really getting a lot out of it. I wish I had grabbed this thing a long time ago.
Don, it strikes me that if in your meditation tomorrow morning, there was something that led you to send me a copy of this book, I think you should go with that.
Well, okay. Or you know what, Sam? You could go to aagrapevine.org and get one right now.
Well, I suppose I could do that too. But, I think it's really cool that we've got this type of resource available because I like to ask our guests from time to time, how do they meditate? What does meditation look like for them? Because that's been my stumbling block for the longest time. Now, when I first got sober, I set reminders on my phone to pray.
And that works.
I needed something to jar my memory. But the meditation thing is something I've tried on several different ways over the years. And quite frankly, what I have now as meditation is before I go downstairs and get a cup of coffee, I go and I sit out on the balcony for a few minutes. And the criteria that I have to meet before I get up is I have to smile. The smile has to show
like
up.
That. Yeah. So I just saw that the Grapevine has a new audiobook recording of it.
Oh, that's great.
It's on aagrapevine.org as a book or a CD or an MP3. It's $11.99.
What's a CD?
Yeah, exactly. You can get one and find out at aagrapevine.org. And if you buy it, you're going to be supporting this podcast.
Oh, well, yeah, because the Grapevine does its best to be entirely self-supporting.
That's right.
Through the sales of its magazines and books.
And another way you can get it is through the Grapevine app.
What's that?
Download the app in any app store onto your phone, and you'll get the Grapevine magazine. You can subscribe to it there. You'll get the podcast. There's a button for the store in the app, and you can search for prayer and meditation. See all the choices. Be sure to click on the one that says MP3 after the title, and then you'll be able to download it on your phone. Who's our guest today, Sam?
Don, today's guest is Nyla C. in Los Angeles. And afterward, we're going to answer a question in our Ask It Basket segment.
But first, the news.
The National Corrections Conference will be happening in Charlotte, North Carolina this year on December 11th and 12th. Registration is officially live and can be found at their website, nationalcorrectionsconference.org.
The Grapevine magazine is holding an annual photo contest. Each year, we hold a competition for members' photos to be featured in our wall calendar. Send your most striking, high-res, 300 dot per inch photos that reflect the joy of living, serenity, and other sobriety themes. Contributors of selected photos will receive complimentary copies of the calendar and pocket planner. The deadline is December 1st. Go to aagrapevine.org/photo contest.
And if you don't know what 300 dots per inch or DPI is, don't worry about it. Just send them the biggest file you can of that picture.
A really good big one. You can give a gift subscription of Grapevine or Lavinia.
Grapevine has a long waiting list of incarcerated members who want one. Get your group, district, area, or AA friends to join in.
It's easy. Go to aagrapevine.org and look for Carry the Message at the top of the site.
I am Nyla C. I am actually in Los Angeles. I am an alcoholic. I'm a member of this group. I feel so at home to hear the banter between you guys. My sobriety date is April 22nd, 2008. My home group here in Los Angeles is the Hollywood Strip. We're a really interesting group. We have a speaker every Saturday morning, but interestingly enough, everybody in the meeting shares every meeting for 90 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Over the course of the last 6 or 7 years, I've got to know that family 90 seconds at a time.
How many people?
Usually, it's about 15, 20 of us. That's a core group, but it's geared towards the first 3 steps, 1, 2, and 3, and it's a newcomer geared meeting. It's amazing.
Oh, it sounds absolutely attractive. I love the idea of everyone shares.
Everyone. Yeah, you get to know people at 90 seconds a pop. And let me tell you something, boy, do you lean in. You really do lean in to getting to know people. It also makes you get really to the point of solution too in 90 seconds.
Oh, doesn't it though?
But Nyla, you got sober in Las Vegas. Lost wages.
Lost wages and lost a lot of other things. I'll tell you, I tell people the interesting thing about Las Vegas is if you don't think you have a vice, come to Las Vegas and it'll find you for sure. Yeah. Because there's excess everywhere you look. Yes. I didn't randomly end up in Las Vegas. I actually am a native New Yorker. I'm in a little country in New York called Harlem. Actually, I came across the country to come to Los Angeles because, people get paid a lot of money to tell really sweet, pretty little lies. And so it kind of, fell in line with where my life was at the time. But I stopped in Las Vegas and I stayed there for 20 plus years.
Well, what was going on with you personally that brought you into AA?
It's interesting. I didn't come because I was hanging out having a good time. That's for sure. I knew that there was something relatively awry pretty early on in the game. I come from a family of Black Panthers and Presbyterians.
Ooh,
Yeah, right.
good
So
mix.
it was a real interesting mix, right? So the concept of authority and God and the organized socialization, whatever it is, there was a dichotomy there going
Mhm.
on. What do we gather for? I come from a long line of folks who have been challenged both with behavioral health, mental health challenges, and substance use disorder, including alcoholism. I was a very young girl who had a lot of grown up secrets. I grew up in Harlem with my boys and Pookie and them, and then I went to this really big hoity-toity school in Riverdale, New York. I didn't fit in there, and I didn't fit in there.
Mm.
I was too much for that and too little for that, and I was a little girl with grown-up secrets. My sobriety date is begins this journey in 2008, but I came into the rooms in the mid 90s, in the
Uh,
mid 90s. But by the time I got to the room, Sam, what do we say? I was a scream looking for a mouth. I learned how to piece together a really, really good story with, supporting characters and alternate endings.
Whereas a bit of an actress.
Oh, let me tell you
yeah.
something. Tell the story that they want to hear. Very, very tied to the reaction and the response.
Where are you saying you did that in AA?
Oh, no, I did that. Well, of course, at the beginning, but I did that, prior to finding AA.
Oh.
I got very good at telling the story that need to be heard
Yeah. I've always said I can fit in anywhere for a given amount of time.
anywhere and swallowing a lot of the confusion and the chaos and the mayhem and doing really well on the outside. I went to that school. I did really well. I went to one of those little Ivies and I did really well there. By the time I left New York, I had wars and scars and stories and just horrible stories. By the time I found Alcoholics Anonymous, well, I stopped in Las Vegas because, Las Vegas is where you stop if you're an alcoholic and it's where you stay, right? And I came to Las Vegas to be there for 2.5 days. 2.5 years later, I woke up out of a blackout.
Whoa.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 2.5 years later, I thought I was partying, but apparently there was a lot of, there were a lot of battles in that 2.5 years. And guys, you know how we are. We make it look good. When I opened the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I loved, the first 164, when I opened up the book and I read Bill's story, I was like, hello, me.
There you
Hello.
go.
Really?
Yeah, I could put Lois on the back of my motorcycle too and ride. I
Yeah.
mean, like, leave it where it is and go to the next place.
Hmm.
By the time I woke up in Las Vegas with a few more vices and a few more scars, and I thought the best thing for me to do is leave it all there. You know the story. Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah. Geographical cures do not work.
And I had collected some pretty scathing stories by this point. I had a dad that loved and loved and overloved and loved and overloved and loved and overloved me. Once I found a drink and a vice to quell that pain and that voice. So I had these parents my grandparents who were Presbyterian, and God for them wasn't necessarily about, the blood of whomever. It was more about community and it was more about building and connecting. But I couldn't be part of that, because God doesn't really dig dirty little girls kind of thing
Mm.
with that dad over loving me. My understanding of how to fit and how I didn't fit, it was a menagerie of pain. It was a menagerie of pain.
Would it be a fair statement to say that you found that community once you got honest in AA? You let people in?
So I found you guys. I got to Los Angeles and I got the big gig and I did some great things. But of course, wherever you go, there you are. And so eventually, the girl who doesn't belong, who doesn't fit, who you're going to find out about, who's going to get found out, who you're not going to dig when you find out what's really going on, she showed up and she tears it all down. I found you guys because I opened up the yellow pages. Open up the yellow pages and I flip the pages and I find you guys after like AAA, or before.
It can be a little bit difficult back in the yellow pages. There were so many treatment centers, AA, and it's hard to find the actual AA.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because access to recovery supports and treatment for communities of color look a little bit different. And the journey towards recovery at the time, and I'm talking 20, 30 years ago right now. That's
Yeah.
now we're talking 30 years ago. I was just trying to kind of shave off a bit, but
Okay.
It's an honest program.
30 years ago, I'm talking mid 90s, man. And the messages were you go to church or you go to jail. Those are the ways towards treatment. So the first time I go to a meeting, first meeting I found was in the mid 90s. At the door of the meeting, I had to go down. First of all, it was in a church. That first was an issue for me. That was a challenge, right?
I hear you.
Yeah, God doesn't dig dirty girls. What am I doing in the church? I'm going to be like smoked or smitten, not smitten, but smoked, right?
Yes.
And so I get to that meeting and there's a dude at the door. And I told you guys, I got to LA finally, and I got the big job and the big
Is
gig
this
and the
in
big stuff.
LA or is this in Las Vegas?
I'm in LA now. Yeah, I'm in LA now.
You,
So I stop in Vegas for about 20 years. So in the midst of
so
my
you go to a
Vegas,
meeting in LA?
yes, yes.
Ah,
So in the midst of my back and forth, I did production in LA early 90s. So I lived in Vegas. I would go to LA and do work on
mhm.
film and production. So I get to a meeting in LA and it's in a church. And I go downstairs in the church and it's back in the days, guys. And remember this, it's stale coffee, lots of cigarette smoke, dirty
Mhm.
ashtrays,
Yep.
dark, dank, very, very hardcore AA. There's a dude at the door. He's got like a beard to his waist. There's like lemurs living in the beard. He's got like a rope holding up his pants, and he's got
Wow.
his living room like in a plastic bag next to him. Like
didn't
his
look didn't look anything like you.
oh no, didn't look like me, didn't smell like me.
Hmm.
But here's the thing: with that one, he smiled. He smiled and he welcomed me into Alcoholics Anonymous, and that was my first experience. And I went in that room, and I felt a pull on my way downstairs into that church, which I did not dig the whole church deal. So I felt a pull. I felt something happening. And I stayed for that meeting. And I had a real conversation with you guys in my head about how those stories you were telling were like abhorrent. I was like, oh my God, what are these stories? Like, why would you say that out loud?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
would you say that? Right? Because I didn't have a relationship with the truth.
Oh, and it can be really jarring to hear people sharing their truths.
Yeah.
Yet something was telling you to stay.
Done what it was for me. It's the story of I had nowhere to go. I had no more ideas. I was out of solutions. I was out of alternate endings. I had told every lie I could tell. I love that line from Flight. I told every lie I could tell. And then it was the holding hands in the prayer. It was the sound, like the resonant sound of the prayer and the energy of the hands and the smiles and the hugs, right? And I left that meeting and I went in and out. 14 years. I got a year, I got 18 months, I got 30 days, 60 days, 90 months, back and forth. And I read that book from cover to cover. And I looked for the dangling participles and whether or not you use a semicolon or a colon properly.
Everything wrong.
Oh my gosh. Everything granularly wrong in the book, but I knew that
Yes.
there was a message in there. You said something earlier and you were back and forth about meditation and prayer. I just didn't want to do it.
Right.
First, again, I didn't feel included in that club of prayer where I could find my own God and God and I would be cool. And
Yeah, because you were talking about a smiting God.
so the God that I understood growing up in a Black community, the place and the position of religion has been very interesting. My family, in particular, my mom and dad were definitely find your own place, law of attraction, nam myoho renge kyo, do what you feel is necessary, find your own space, right? My grandparents had a more traditional perspective.
So you're getting two messages.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of mixed messages because the other message was that my parents were my gods. And from the perspective of a young child, my parents had failed to protect me from so many of the really terrible things that can happen to a young girl. And so lots of mixed messages. Yeah. So the
Yes.
concept of God,
Well, how did you reconcile this?
years back and forth, in and out, back and forth and in and out. I did not feel as though I could find a place of redemption. What happened to me is that for 14 years, I went in and out. I couldn't really get a groove on, having heard you guys in 1994 because I'd
Mhm.
heard the message.
Oh, ruined your drinking.
I was doomed. So, in that space of those 14 years, I had the gift of desperation. I kept coming back, and you guys kept telling me to come back, which actually kind of, I was a little bothered by that. I'm a New Yorker. I'm thinking, you got about 47 minutes in here where you guys are being good. And then the other
Yeah.
23 hours,
Oh, I hear you.
you're tying one on.
Yeah. This is all trust, Nyla. It's like I can't trust, I'm bad, and I can't trust that there is a higher power that I could surrender to. I can't trust AA.
And I can't trust that these people in these rooms are who they're presenting themselves to be.
Absolutely. There is embedded in my system of beliefs was this idea of code switching all the time.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm a little girl with grown up secrets you don't tell people. You keep a smile on your face, you make it look good, you make it look pretty, you make it sound good. I am a Black girl growing up in a school that is an all white dominated school where I have to pretend that I belong with these folks who have a very different experience of the world. I come home, I'm a Black girl with an education from the dominant culture. So I'm also trying to figure out how to fit in. So I'm shuffling all these identities, man. I'm
Yeah.
shuffling them all. So when you talk about trust, I had no relationship with trust, truth, honesty, integrity. In here, because I love that the book talks about the fundamental idea of God, right? The
Mhm.
fundamental idea of God for me has to do with there was always like this God particle.
Mhm.
There was always this idea that it doesn't have to be a person. It doesn't have to look like the dude with the blue eyes and the long hair. It doesn't have to look like the dude with the big belly and the earrings. Maybe it can just be good orderly direction.
Yes.
So when you ask me what happened, that's what it was. What keeps me sober? Back to that gone. In the 14 years back and forth, I had the gift of my first marriage and my 25-year-old. Now he's now 25 years old. I just wanted to pull this off, man. I wanted to be this really great mom, and I couldn't pull it off. So before he turned double digits, I had the opportunity to stick and stay. What keeps me sober is, one of the last runs he caught me, and he literally looked through me. He looked at me and he looked past me. And it broke my heart, man. It
Mm.
broke my heart. And if you know, like I know, the only tool I had at that moment to relieve myself with was another one. That's all I had. 16 years later, me and this dude, we are like excellent. We are excellent.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
keeps and holds me in the sense that I want to be part of his life and his joy and his world and his journey. And this dude reflects all the stuff that we do. Like, I've been able to bring him into that 12-step world that teaches you stuff that everybody actually should have. Everybody should
Yes,
have
we need
this.
Humans Anonymous. I am
Oh
convinced.
my God, everyone should be doing the stuff we're doing,
Yeah.
right? But I see our stuff in him.
Yeah.
He is of service to the world. And then I have a beautiful husband, great family, and fantastic opportunity to help other people. I'm a pretty hoity-toity girl. Like, I had a plan for my life and it was fabulous and it was big and shiny, but it was not what this is. I definitely would have undercut. I would have undersold, undercut myself.
Yes.
I mean, this feeling is amazing.
It's time for the Ask It Basket.
What's that?
That's the name Bill W. gave the basket that was passed around for questions. We want your questions for our guests.
General recovery questions, newcomer questions, AA history.
Got a question for the Ask It Basket? Go to aagrapevine.org and click on podcast.
And now let's dip into the basket. We received this question for the Ask It Basket from Wake, recorded at an area assembly. Let's listen.
I'm an alcoholic. My name is Wake, and I was wondering if I'm supposed to keep my anonymity as far as who my sponsor is in the rooms. For example, someone made me think that I wouldn't be able to know who my sponsor was, and I wasn't supposed to know.
Wake, thank you for that question. I'm going to jump in on this one first
All right.
because, the anonymity within the fellowship doesn't really help us.
No.
Because I cannot recall how many times it has been that I would hear that so-and-so died or so-and-so is sick, and they've got to go through the process of describing what this person looks like and da da da. Whereas if I knew their last name, I would know. So I will absolutely share my name with anyone in the fellowship. And my sponsor, when talking about other sponsees, will not disclose who he's talking about. So he's maintaining their anonymity. And I think that that's a respectful thing to do. As an alcoholic, we like things to be on or off, black or white.
Yes.
It's a gray area.
I agree. The way I feel about it is within AA, I want to be known to the people in AA and to my local community as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've arrived at this point by being sober for a few years. That wasn't the case for the first couple of years. And anonymity protects us. It's a personal choice whether I want to share my membership or not. But after a period of time, I want people to be known so they'll know where to get help. How do you find AA? Within AA, I use my last name, but I don't use my last name like on this podcast, which is not below the level of press, radio, and films. This is at the level of press, radio, and films. And just like you said, Sam, I don't want to break someone else's anonymity, but I'm talking about my own anonymity.
Nyla, what do you think about this?
I agree. I concur. I agree. I concur. Within Alcoholics Anonymous, I absolutely have created the fellowship that I crave. We need to be able to connect, and especially as women. And the women who have taught me and the women who have taught the women who have taught me are well known. I do share who my sponsor and my grand sponsor are with the women that I sponsor, and I encourage them to share with each other. However, I do not share with a sponsee the work or the challenges of another sponsee. I also can say that there have been times when I have a sponsee that will approach me with a challenge that I haven't had. But because there is such a connection amongst women in Alcoholics Anonymous, I can, very readily call up someone who has had the challenge, and there's sort of this tacit agreement that we can share with each other. Like I can say, Judy, meet Josie, and there may be some connection to each other because that's what we're here for. I agree with sharing in the community to a level that allows me to be accessible to people who may have questions about how do I get involved. Obviously, we know representation at that level and above is something else. I actually just go by Nyla too. I don't even go by my last initial, only because I'm like Cher, but
Nyla.
Oh.
But you were talking about trust. And
Yeah.
this is a problem that I had with AA. It's like, I don't know if I can trust these people. Can I trust my sponsor?
Yeah.
Can I trust?
Yeah.
It's important that we are trustworthy, that we don't break someone else's anonymity.
So being respectful of the trust that other people give us, but it is a journey when I came into these rooms to getting to that place where I can trust people in the rooms.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think we're all having the human experience too. I think it's necessary that we be realistic and understand that though the basic principles and the tenets of AA are something that we all want to uphold and to be respectful of, I think that, there have been incidences, in our community where that looks a little bit different. I like what Wake was saying about not even knowing who my sponsor is. There's something interesting in that, right? Because what happens is it takes the onus off of the person to be the representative of an idea or ideal that is commonly shared by Alcoholics Anonymous. There's nothing that I'm going to say that's new. I have no new take on Alcoholics Anonymous. So then it kind of comes down to who really cares who said it. And the flip side of that is, there's some gurus in AA, man. There's some people in AA that you're like, hey, I'm showing up when that person shows up. So I think it's kind of a moving, shifting piece.
Agreed.
I don't think there's a black or white answer to that at all.
Nyla, if you were at the meeting, I would show up. Thanks so much for being.
I love it.
Nyla.
Absolutely. I'm a Nyla fanboy now.
This has been great. You know what? Any time that I can take to talk about this joy, I will take any time. I really love the energy. This has been really great.
The Grapevine strives to be self-supporting.
Please subscribe to the magazine or app and visit the Grapevine online store.
The app is free in your phone's app store and has great content and features provided at no cost to you.
But if you subscribe, you get so much more. And you support all things Grapevine, including this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Only $2.99 a month. I'm at the very wit's end. Cuckoo.
This Wit's End, submitted by Jack A. A drunk walks into a shop and asks,
Say, how much is the rent on this gorgeous apartment?
Sir, this is a liquor store.
It's really not that funny. Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. Podcast info, including how to call in, is at aagrapevine.org/podcast. Search AA Grapevine in the App Store on your phone or find AA Grapevine on Instagram and YouTube. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org. If you want to know more about AA, search online for Alcoholics Anonymous in your city or visit aa.org.
That was freaking amazing.